here. So I thought I'd talk about Maverick Viñales' brake failure from last week's MotoGP race. Now, I don't know if anybody's actually had experienced the brake failure before. I have on the racetrack, and it is horrible. Like, you know, you're pulling the lever in, and either the lever is stiff and not working, or it just comes right to the handlebar. It is the absolute worst feeling in the world, because you know the second you have that feeling, this is not good. And depending on where you are trying to brake, it could be a, you know, life in front of your eyes moment. And in Maverick's case, it was happening in one of the fastest sections of the track. And apparently the Yamahas have been having problems for the last 2 weeks on that track with brakes. And I know Fabio had problems the previous race, and they apparently replaced a whole bunch of stuff, and I guess things were better. But I noticed in practice and qualifying, and even during the race, he was running off the track because his brakes weren't working. And like, I've had that, and I had one race where I was doing really well, and I had like the brakes just weren't biting, and they you know, you pull the lever and you get nothing, you release and pull the lever again, and you get enough, like you almost feel brakes, and then you pull it again, and then you're starting to get brakes. And of course, you know, if that was the brake mark, you know, by the time I finish pumping the lever, this is where I'm starting to get brakes. And if you're traveling at a high speed, there's no way you can stop. And luckily the track I was on had lots of runoff areas, and I ran off. And the situation was, it was a long straightaway. For some reason, my pads were moving away from the caliper, or from the rotor. So not a problem. I knew what the problem was, and going down the straightaway, and as you're going down the straightaway, as you got the throttle held open, I'm just gently with my finger just pumping the brake lever. Now it seems weird, but it's the sort of stuff you do when you're racing. It's, you know, brakes get, like the adjustable brakes that you have nowadays didn't exist when I was racing. So you just you pump the brake just gently to get the lever firm again, and it worked fine. And I decided I was going to make up the lost time on the shorter straightaways, which actually exacerbated the problem, and I ended up running out of brakes everywhere. So I was not happy. Now, Maverick's brakes, apparently Yamaha uses what are called the standard brake setup on their bike. They are Brembos, the same as everyone else has available to them. Now Ducati, Aprilia, KTM, and Honda all use what's called the high mass brakes on their bikes. See, they sell a regular. They offer two types of brake setups. They sell regulars, and they offer the high mass. High mass of the team. Yeah, don't have your foot on near the shifter when you hit a pothole. And the interesting thing is that everybody else was running the high mass. Now at certain tracks like Motegi, and I can't remember the other couple tracks, is you're actually required to run the heavy brakes because they're hard braking, and you know they will wear out your you end up with brake failures. But apparently the Red Bull Ring is not one of them, and I'm going to assume that might change for the next time they come there. The other thing too is that Honda and Ducati and KTM were all using heavy, large ducts to draw cool air into their calipers and rotors to try to cool them off, because with brakes, especially the carbon brakes, they operate at about 1,000 degrees, and they work really well but you can actually overheat them, and if you overheat them, the brakes basically, they start boiling the fluid and the brakes stop working, which is probably what was happening to Fabio. He was overheating the brakes, and basically you start boiling the fluid, you get air bubbles in the system, and that's where you get the soft lever. So that's probably what happened to Maverick there, was he was pumping and there was nothing there and he just ran off. Now the high mass rotors, as everyone more or less uses now, are a larger rotor, so they just provide more surface area, sort of help reduce the heat sink. But they offer a heavier caliper for their bike, which has, if I can find a picture of them, I'll put it up here. They actually have like almost like cooling fins on them to help increase the surface area, so that they will not run as hot as like a regular caliper. And Yamaha's not using them. Now I can understand one of the reasons not using them is because you put those calipers in the front of your bike, and it gives you a little more weight, which makes the bike handle not quite as nice, and it also puts more weight in the front wheel, which of course might affect your ability to brake as to however you have your suspension set up. Now like Honda and the other teams, they pretty well run them all the time, so their setup is basically their setup. But I think Yamaha is probably going to have to bite the bullet and start running the high mass calipers, because you just can't have this happen. That's 2 races in a row, so it's pretty sad and pretty scary. But the important thing is that Maverick is okay. He's still alive. All he got out of that was probably a little light rug burn from sliding on the asphalt. And I can tell you from experience, you don't ever want to have a brake failure on the street or on the racetrack. Take care of your brakes, folks. They'll take care of you. Anyways, that's all I got. Hope you found that interesting. DeathsStalker, signing off.